What's going on? So, we're gonna have a conversation today about something that I've said probably a million times since I started this talk show. And I'm gonna clarify some things and give you some details about what that actually means. So, first of all, my name is Joel Casanova, and I am the creator and founder of Beat Hunter Dance. And this talk show exists to help your dance journey be healthy, productive, and 100% yours. Okay? Um, if you've been watching, you've probably heard me say that like 6,000 times. And it's because your dance journey can be these three things. But that also means your dance journey is going to ebb and flow. It's going to change. It's going to shift. It's going to take twists and turns and pivots and things along the way. That's just like a fact of life, let alone a fact of something as organic as a dance journey, right? Because you're just living your life. Dance is one component of your overarching life. And so as you change as a person, as you change as a dancer, as you change as a human being in general, the things that you do in dance, the reasons you do things in dance, all of it's going to change. And it's not bad things. It's like saying like an 8-year-old should grow by the time they're 18. They will change. They will grow. Their face will mature. They'll at least get a little bit taller, maybe, hopefully. And so it's not a bad thing. It's just different, right? So the nuance of change, when I say nuance, I mean like subtle shifts in things, like blue versus like royal blue versus like navy blue. It's like, is it blue? Yes, but it's slightly different. It's just a little bit different. Like royal blue, baby blue. Are they both blue? Yes, of course they're blue. But they're slightly different. Like it's at a different angle. It's a nuanced approach to something where you're not just swiping with a broad brush. There's like small details that change that might shift everything. Okay? When you first start dancing, no matter what age you are, you could be 8, you could be 18, you could be 28, you could be 68, you could be 88, you could be 98, you could be 108. When you start dancing, every change, every turn, every twist seems and usually is massive. It's huge, right? It's just like everything. So, because everything is new, you're hyper aware of all the things that are happening at all times, right? So, this has happened to me, and it's also happened to other dancers. Like I started out in a dance studio. Well, I started out in church, and then this guy came in and he told us about his dance studio. I joined the dance studio. So when I officially started dancing, I guess, like in a organized way, is at a specific dance studio. Then I was there doing competition, doing all this different stuff. Everything was huge. Every class was huge. Every competition we did was huge. All the training was massive, like leaps and bounds that I needed to take as a dancer were happening, right? And then I shifted to a different studio, right? I actually had in between those two times, I had a year where I was not dancing at a studio specifically. And that was like my whole life was upended for 1 year of not dancing at a dance studio. And then I went to a different dance studio. And that dance studio, changing from the first one to the second one, they honestly were like very different from each other. But for me, it was this massive life change. I was like 16, 17, right? And it's like huge. I was like, everything is different in my life now. Everything is different. And then as those things started happening, I matured and I started teaching. And that was a big change, like choreographing and teaching for the people that were next to me. And then I started getting hired for the people. I got hired by other people that I didn't even know, and they hired me to teach at their studio. And that was a huge change. And it continues to get more momentum, right? I'm talking about specific moments that happened in my life. It could be completely different changes for you. It could be the changes could be much farther and farther from each other, like farther, like smaller and in between, right? So it's like you were there for like 8 years and then something changed versus for me, it was like 5 years or like 4 years. right? So the idea is that every change that happens is big, right? And then you start gaining momentum, right? So like if you throw a ball like softly, any gust of wind could like blow it off, or like if it like there's a large arc versus if you throw it harder, it'll block the wind. It'll like go in a tighter spiral. Okay. So your dance journey starts gaining momentum as you start growing in your dance journey. And so things are still big, things are still important, they're very impactful to you as a person because it's a chunk of your life. Your dance journey is a chunk of your overarching life that is changing and is shifting because of your life, or because your life is changing because of your dance journey. It could happen either way. But it's a tighter circle, right? It's like drawing a lazy circle versus drawing a tight circle, right? It's like very, very specific. It's like tunnel vision. And so the things start changing because you can kind of manage how much they change, right? You're gaining momentum, you're dancing, you're growing in a skill, you're growing in a technique, you're adding on different genres of dance, you're finding yourself performing at different places or in different scenarios or at different levels, right? I used to be at beginner level, and now I'm at intermediate level or high intermediate level. I'm now competing with bigger stakes, right? I was at a competition, a lot of competitions, the industry of competitions is like you just kind of pay to join the competition. You don't really get eliminated. But then there are some competitions that are very specific, like the traditional version of competitions that we know. It's like the World Cup. Okay, so you have 16 people, and then you have 8 people, and then you have 4 people, and then you have 2 people, right? Like people get eliminated on and off depending on how well they do. Okay, and then, but like those things are managed because like the big changes that you've experienced beforehand were huge, and now these are a little smaller and more specific, right? And you're like, okay, I have changed before, and now I need to change a little bit just to, or an intermediate or a medium level of change, because I'm now competing where we get eliminated. The stakes are higher. Something has changed, right? And so then you start getting used to that, and you're in that phase of your dance journey, okay? And then as your dance journey matures more and more, the decisions are nuanced more and more, right? So now I'm at a stage, for me personally, and I'm sure other people who watch this, where the shifts are still happening. They will always happen for the rest of your life, but they're smaller. They're just a little bit different, just by that much, right? It's like instead of like change, it's like change, and now it's like change, right? And so that doesn't mean they're not impactful. That doesn't mean they're not important. It doesn't mean that they're not meaningful, especially to me as someone who's watching, as someone who's changing, as someone who's looking from the outside and looking at my dance journey and seeing how it's changing, how it's affecting my life. But as you go on, the things go from like the long-term aspect of your dance journey to the foundational aspect of your journey, right? So it starts off foundational, like where you're dancing, when you're dancing, what style you're dancing in, your introductions to specific things, because you only get introduced to certain things once, right? You can get reintroduced later on. Like say I had a horrible experience with hip hop. I didn't, but say I did, right? And then I'm like, I don't want to do this. And then years go by and I get reintroduced to hip hop in a different light. And I'm like, oh, this is very different. This is very, very different. Actually, that was more my experience with ballet. I did not like it, but when I was introduced to it, it was in a specific way where they didn't have time to teach me what I actually needed to know. Then I got reintroduced by taking classes with Albert Watson. Albert Watson was a principal dancer for Alvin Ailey, which just means he's a legend. That's all you need to know, right? He was alive when Alvin Ailey was alive, and he refers to him as Alvin. Okay, he's like, yeah, Alvin and I. When Alvin used to teach us, like Alvin used to say, Like, you don't just call him out. It's like saying, yeah, Michael Jackson, right? You're like, yeah, when Michael Jackson was alive, like, Michael, Mikey, down the street. You're like, no, you don't call him Michael. He's Michael Jackson. Like, but he just knows him that way, right? He knew Alvin Ailey that way. Alvin Ailey is a legend, right? And specifically in the ballet modern world, right? And so it's this crazy thing where I'm like, I'm now reintroduced to ballet from Albert Watson, and he taught me in a completely different way where I'm like, oh, this is very different. This is what I should have been understanding. But I still have my introduction to ballet, right? These are all foundational things. If you get introduced to a specific style, you only get introduced one way. You only get introduced to like a studio one time. You might return, you might leave, you might stay there for the rest of your life. The idea is that you're being introduced that first time, and it's creating your foundation. It's like laying the layers of concrete on the foundation. And then you get more and more mature throughout your dance journey. Hopefully you actually as a human being start maturing, but I'm talking about your dance journey specifically. It starts solidifying and going to different areas, and because it's an organic thing, it's living, it's breathing, it's moving, and you're moving with it. Hopefully you're driving the car and it's not driving you. But like things like discipline, right? It's like, I'm going to constantly do this thing because my dance journey has shifted in a nuanced way where I'm like, do I want to practice every single day? Is that important? Do I need to? What should I be doing? Or like the fact that like my journey right now is changing into this educational aspect where I'm like talking about dance, and I'm writing about dance, and I'm making videos about dance, and I'm creating a space where people can think about what it is that they're doing and why is it that they're doing it. And like that's really more of what I do every day. I'm like, okay, even if I don't dance today, I'm like thinking about what I'm doing. I'm thinking about how other people are doing it. I'm thinking about what is necessary, what is needed for a dance journey to be healthy and productive and 100% whoever it is that we're talking about. And that's a very specific thing. I'm disciplining myself to think about this every single day. Or like the quality of relationship. It's like, okay, will these people become my inner circle? Do I want them to be part of my inner circle? Maybe they just stay dance associates. I have plenty of people that I love and know that I'm like, we're not close friends. And that's okay. You can't be close friends with everyone. I was like, with this person, these people, that person, I want them to be close friends with me. And those are nuanced decisions. It doesn't change your whole life, but it's like, okay, this is a small shift. And then, or integration. What other parts of your life, what other parts of your personality, what other parts of who you are you integrating with dance? How are they integrated? Are you integrating dance into that thing, or vice versa? Right? Are you a storyteller that also loves dancing, so you start affecting your dance with storytelling? Or maybe you're a visual artist and you want to start making paintings about dance and different dance experiences that you've had. Like you take a picture and you recreate it in painting because you're like, these two things are both me. Visual art as well as movement art. And you're like, these two things are now getting integrated. There's small changes that you're like, wow, this is something different. And it's important to me, but it's a nuanced change. It wasn't like this massive shift where I'm like dancing for the first time or painting for the first time or thinking about what I want to do with either of these things. Should I make it a business? I don't know. This is a huge change. I've never done this before. Versus like, I already have these two things. I want to combine them. I'm going to combine them. That's what I'm going to do. Shift. Right? So the foundational things are really, really big. But as they get more nuanced, it's more about the long-term aspect. The discipline, the quality, the integration, the quality of relationship. I mean, like the discipline of your craft, the quality of your relationships, the integration of the things that are part of your life. These are all things that are like long term, right? Because like you might get introduced to, for example, life has rhythms when it comes to change. So when I first got introduced to dance, it was at a church, and this guy was like just teaching his dance lessons. I had no idea he didn't know what he was doing. That sounds really bad. But like this is not his thing. He wasn't trained to do it. It wasn't his career. And then all of a sudden some guy who came in whose career had been dancing and still is and will be for the next couple decades dancing, he comes in and my life shifted from the church dance team to the competition dance team. Right? Like that is something that changed. It wasn't always going to be at the church dance team. And then even the first studio that I went to, that changed. And all this was being done in Texas. And then that changed. I moved to Virginia Beach. And then the things that I was doing in Virginia Beach when I first moved here, that changed. All these things were like foundational things, but then they started getting more nuanced where it's like, I am now going to educate people on how to train themselves in themselves. Right? I'm teaching people how to make dance a tool that benefits themselves instead of having to change their life. Right? Be Hunter Dance is about finding your identity in dance, your dance ID. Where do you fit in the dance world? And like what decisions bring you to that place in the dance world, and being intentional about the decisions that bring you to that place in the dance world. Like all of them are very important and all of them are centered around the person. Like that was a change. That was a shift. I'm still dancing. I'm still teaching, but it's like, this is where my goal is. And I've gone deeper into that thing because that decision, that nuanced change was a long-term effect. I'm now still doing it 10 years later. I wasn't even at my first dance studio for 10 years or my second dance studio for 10 years. I have been 16 to... Okay, I've been teaching for over 10 years. But even then, the places that I was at changed. Like, I haven't been doing ballet for 10 years. Right? I do it for several months at a time, right? I come in and I get training and then I leave, right? Because hip-hop is my thing. I love hip-hop. And I want to get more training in hip-hop. And I also teach hip-hop to a lot of different people. So it's like, that's the thing. That has been going since for, 20 years next year. That's wild. 20 years, right? 11 to 31. When I turned 31. I just turned 30 this year. The point is, so 19 years. The point is, those were like foundational things that shifted and changed. And then I started making long-term effects. So when I say your dance journey is an organic thing, you're going to do stuff that is different. It's going to shift. It's going to change. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Like, what do you mean, Joel? This is what I mean. You start dancing with foundational aspects. And those things change because then you start making tighter decisions. And you start managing how those things are changing. And then they become super nuanced. Right? So like a baby moving their arm versus like an 8-year-old moving their arm versus an adult moving their arm. Right? Large, huge, uncontrolled, gross movement. Not gross as in gross. Gross as in large, like motor movement. Gross motor movement versus fine motor movement. Right? And then that gets more controlled. And you still see that they're not as controlled, like at like 8, 10 as an adult, but they have control. And then you have like an 18-year-old or a 28-year-old where they're doing tiny, small movements that they're in control of. It's like small things that are noticeable because you're like, oh, you're not just throwing your body, you're making specific movement decisions as you're doing this. And it's like, wow, that was a really nuanced change. There's a nuanced movement. It's because their muscle has developed the smaller muscles that do the smaller things, like biologically speaking. It's the same way as the metaphysical body that you're in. Your dance journey starts growing big muscles first and then the small, tiny, fine muscles afterwards. So as things change, don't freak out. Don't freak out. But realize that you're maturing in those things. I'm going through the same process right now. So it's not like, oh no, how long is this going to take me? Or like, oh, this is going to happen. Everything in my life is going to change tomorrow. No, it won't. It could, but it probably won't. Right? So I am 19 years into my dance journey, right? I started dancing at 11. I'm 30 now, right? 19 years into my dance journey, things are starting to shift, and I've made a bunch of nuanced decisions, and they're just getting more nuanced. And I know that they're important, and I know that they're big. They're still big to me specifically. And I feel my brain changing as I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So it's a very fun process if you allow it to be a fun process. It really is. Because then you start seeing a lot of different things. And that's different for everybody. For me, it's this importance of the thought process and the mindset behind things. Last story. So yesterday was the World Cup final. I'm kind of aging this video at this point. 2026 World Cup final. It was the very first time they ever had a World Cup halftime show, just like an NFL show, which I was kind of disappointed about. I have my own thoughts about that. We'll talk about it later, I'm sure. The point is, my editor, which is cool to say, the editor for my book, the POV curriculum, which is coming out soon, he was there, and so I was like, okay, here's where all the inappropriate dancing comes, because commercialism. Again, another thing we'll probably talk about later. And I was like, and he was like, okay, so what if that's their POV? And he's kind of poking fun at me because he read the book, right? He had to edit it. He had to read it to edit it. And I was like, nah, difference, right? I can't force you to change your POV, but the POV that they're probably taking is not high standards, right? Which is the 5th chapter in the book, standards. So I'm saying I can't change your POV. I'm just suggesting a POV in the book that is more beneficial to you and doesn't lower your standards, right? Because a lot of the answers probably decided, I'm doing this. This is the World Cup, the very first World Cup halftime show, right? And they probably didn't even consider what choreography they had to do, what things they had to wear, what interactions that they have, or whether any of these 3 things were appropriate or not, or below their standards, or moral. They were just like, I'm dancing at the World Cup halftime show, the very first halftime show ever. I'm in, without thinking about why, or where, or when, or how, or with who, or what they were going to be doing and whether they approved of it or not. Right? You can turn down the World Cup. If it's something you don't want to do, turn it down. If it's something that you think is wrong to do, turn it down. I don't care who they are. World of Dance, So You Think You Can Dance? I think it got canceled. I'm not sure. Right? World of Dance, So You Think You Can Dance. The halftime show for the NFL, the halftime show for the World Cup. All the award shows that I'm not going to name right now, all 6,000 of them. Right? No. Michael Jackson, if he was alive, could call you up and he's like, this is what I want you to do. And you can say, no. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how much money you're going to pay me. Because this is your dance journey. You're preserving yourself, your humanity. Right? And so I responded to him. He was like, that's a good point. That's a really good point. And I'm like, that's exactly the point. I know that people do make these decisions without thinking about what it is that they're going to do. And I'm like, you don't have to live like that. You don't. These are nuanced decisions. That's actually a really big decision, whether you're dancing in the World Cup final halftime show, right? That's a big decision. But even then, the decisions that you're making before that happens, the preemptive standards that you're setting in place, you're like, I don't think I would do something like this. Insert blank here. And then you have to hold up those standards when they come. Like, hey, do you want to do this thing? And you're like, I already said no ahead of time, so no. That's a nuanced decision that I didn't think would be a huge no that I would just said just now. Right? So, final story, if you're watching this, your dance journey is going to change, and those things are important to you as a person. Okay? So, I have a lot of things happening right now. I have a website where all this information is coming. It's in the description below, but I'm going to tell you now. I'm on Substack, so all the episodes of the talk show are going to be collected in one place. You don't have to scour YouTube, right? They're all in one place, as well as articles I'm going to start writing, as well as dance prompts. Then you can start making dance a part of your daily discipline. Right? You wake up, do a dance prompt, stay in your body, and grow organically in a way that is designed for you. Because it's not like, do this thing. This is the choreography you're doing. It's like, take this concept and run with it. And as you grow, like there's 3 levels in each dance prompt. So as you grow, you can grow with the dance prompt. So all that's in the links below. You can also listen to this talk show instead of watching it. That's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and things like that. So you can just listen to it as you're driving in the car. And if you're listening to this right now instead of watching it, great job. You're ahead of the curve. So, yeah. And then the last thing is everything you can find that I do dance-wise, training-wise, is on the website, which is also in the description below. So, have a great day. Think about the things that you're doing. They're important, and they should be important to you because you are valuable and you are wanting to protect yourself, and grow yourself, and connect yourself to people that want to connect to you. Right? It's all part of the dance journey, and it's going to grow and change, and it's going to be a great time. I promise. Yeah. So here's some information, and I'll see you next time.